Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, we'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 25 of the anime series Arslan Senki, or the Heroic Legend of Arslan. For all intents and purposes, the season 1 finale, and as of the time of this recording, I don't know if we've gotten any announcements, not that I've seen, that we're going to get a continuation second season or movie or what have you. That is still up in the air as I record, but very much as finale episodes go, did this bring everything I could have wanted to the fore. I mean, a sense of closure, a sense of the story yet continues, there's still more story to come and everything like that. And there were some really heartening human elements to this episode that surprised me, and pleasantly so, because as sort of a precursor to getting into what I really loved about this finale episode, I have to say that over the last couple of weeks, I've kind of found my interest in Arslan Senki as a series waning to a point. Not that I haven't still found it enjoyable and exciting episode to episode, but the in-between time, you know, I've been trying to think of, like, what's to come in the future. Are we going to get another season? Are we going to get a movie follow-up? Do I have to go back and read the original source material? I know there are other previous incarnations that were in anime form and everything that I'll be curious to check out one day. And I didn't know if there was going to be enough left over to really sort of solidify my own interest in, let's say, 6 months to a year from now, we're going to get Arslan Senki Season 2. Am I going to want to pick up with it? I don't know. I was really feeling like probably not. I'd probably avoid it. Just because I feel like, I didn't know how they were going to play out with the series. And with this particular episode, I feel like all of that was cast aside. I really was drawn into this particular episode because of the humanitarian nature of it and the very much ground level, sort of dynamic going on between Arslan and Etoile or Etoile or Estelle, whatever you want to call her. She's got so many different personas. She was a character who I've said time and again was really just irksome to me in her blindly following the Eldaba faith. And in this episode, while we begin with that, I feel like we do see a level of growth for her character and a level of compassion, even though she's very much sort of, at least as anime tropes go, she does have that tsundere effect where, I'm not going to like you, but I kind of like you, and I like throughout the course of this episode when Arslan lets her go, the emotion and the music and just the feelings going on in the scene after they've had their chat in, sort of the dungeon basement, whatever you want to call it, in the cell where he's giving her food and telling her, well, this is, giving us a decisive blow, by you eating this food, you're taking from us. And, and she ends up going along with that to eat the food and whatever. But he leaves, the cage door open or whatever, and asks her, will you be a part of the prayer for the lives lost in this battle? And that whole scene was just so emotional, much more than I would have thought. You see Ferengis actually is the one she's praying, but she seems to be the one who is singing the melody as well. And it's just, I don't know, it was a very impactful scene that I did not expect. I didn't know what to expect, really, as the finale goes, but that was something that I felt was a masterstroke. Even for the last few episodes where it was kind of like, huh? There were moments where it was just kind of like you had to throw your disbelief to the wind and everything. This brought it all back home. This really brought any ill choices that may have been perceived on the part of the showrunners, the producers, writers, plotters, everything like that. I feel like they were back on point. They were back on focus with this sequence and how important it would have been to the time that the story is unfolding within. To not have acknowledged that, Arslan being very much, even though he will not conform himself to that faith, he respects that faith. He can respect the people who believe in that faith, who aren't necessarily guns ablazing and everything like that. And this very much shows the depth of his leadership and the depth of his compassion in that way. And then to move on from there, of course, they are going to basically dismantle the Keep of St. Emmanuel so nobody can be holed up there. And they're going to be moving on to Ekbatana. And all the while, again, the relationship, the dynamic, the playful dynamic going on between he and Estelle when she's like, he comes to them when they're making food after the baby's been born or whatever it is. And I thought that was a nice, nod to the future as well. The idea of hope, a life being born on the battlefield or out of battle. And, Fernandez's own concerns that hopefully love and compassion will see to this young boy's future. But he goes to bring not food. In fact, it was the little sort of religious text that Estelle had given him, give it back to her. And she's like, well, I'm going to try to convert you. He's like, that's not going to happen. But I love that even she at this point, not only the people within his confines and his confidence have been trying to school him on being a prince, being princely, being a king and all this kind of stuff. She's like, you got to be more demanding. You got to be more, demeaning. You got to actually be royal, act like royalty and everything. And it's just, it was a very comical sequence that for even his, perceived enemy, if you will, to turn around and be like, you're not doing this right. I have expectations. I want to wipe the floor with you. Give me a reason to want to, I don't want to like you, in other words. And I just loved that. I loved the playful banter going on between Jeswant and Daryun, and of course Narcissus toward the end. Daryun having survived his blow, I was wondering if that was going to have, how that was going to play out, basically, whether he was going to lose his life, as well as Elam, quite frankly. I didn't know what to expect as far as he was concerned. He was just wounded, and then nothing was ever said about it again. And here he is during the prayer line, he's like right there. And even, Estelle is kind of surprised that he's there. And the look that they exchange, and then later on when she's trying to bandage some of the Lusitanian soldiers and he has to help her and everything, kind of an interesting dynamic going on there between them as well. Alfred having gone missing and seeing Narcissus concerned about her well-being, Narcissus being very much continually put off by the fact that she's like so cocksure, hey, you're going to be my husband and everything like that, and just the vibrance of her character and bordering on annoyance. But to we the viewer being very comical, I was glad to see that Alfred was actually okay, though. She comes down the food chute. Okay. Whatever. And again, the promise of the future, Arslan very much confident as he leads the charge of these soldiers at the end of this, and coinciding with the knowledge that Silver Mask is alive and well. He's back in Ecbatana, and I was actually very much surprised that he takes out some of the Lusitanian soldiers so he and, Giscard can talk in private, whatever. And then he reveals the truth of who he is. Because Giscard cannot possibly want to lead Pars. He wants to lead Lusitania. He wants to lead his own people. He wants to be their king. So kind of to bring it on a ground level between these two dastardly gents, if you will, Silver Mask says, I'm the son of Ostros. I'm here to claim the Parsian throne. I'm going to put Angelgoris and Arslan in their place, or the place that I see them to be most befitting, and I'm going to hand them their asses, and I want to rule this place, and that is now their deal. The fact that Giscard didn't know this all along was actually pretty shocking and surprising to me. I had just assumed that he knew who Silver Mask was, that he was Hermes, the son of Ostros. I had just assumed that was a given. So I was actually pretty surprised that they waited till this juncture for him to come clean with that. That's just very interesting to me, because then it also solidifies the promise of the deeds to come. If we do get another season, if we do get a follow-up movie, whatever it's going to be, there is more story to come. There is still the chasing down of the throne. And the best part toward the end of this episode for me was that song kicking in, Let Us Remember, Arslan the Liberator. And there's Give. He's overlooking the mountain, and he's looking for whatever it, quote, it is, that is going to solidify Arslan's claim to the throne. And again, just leaving off with a sense of closure. The story is done for now, but there's more to come if you want to pick up with it. And I hope I was left hoping, sort of in antithesis to how I went going into it, thinking, I don't know if I'm going to want to pick up with another season of this at some point. I definitely want to pick up with another season. I definitely hope we get a continuation of this story. I'll be along for the journey because I want to see how it all plays out. Some people have talked about the series in that its adaptation does not necessarily to the letter stick to the original source material. I know people have expectations, but I like the idea of going into a story and not necessarily knowing what to expect. Even if I'm familiar, which I'm not, with the source material as far as Arslan's journey goes, if I were, I would kind of respect, as long as it's done well, I would respect them switching it up a little bit and telling it a little bit differently, still ending up, going the same sort of journey. But I would love to have surprises. I don't want to see every little notch on the belt coming. And for me, that's part of why I'm so excited to see this story continue beyond this finale episode, beyond the journey we've been on thus far, where Arslan has truly become, even at the age of 15, a young man, a thorough leader among his people, and a man who, he's hopeful. He bestows hope on all who choose to follow him. And, it's arguable, I guess. We don't know all of the fine details, but he has the most honorable claim on the Parsian throne and will beset the entirety of it to benevolence. And so, of course, you want to champion him, and with all of these other things going on, Give searching for whatever it is that should solidify this. Silver Mask now making a deal with Guiscard. We will become the two leaders of our respective worlds if we work together against the forces of good, in a sense. And all that kind of stuff. The people who, once again, Arslan is accruing to his cause. Even if not directly Estelle, she's traveling with them now, and it'll be interesting to see how much further her evolution would go to ally either further away from or more toward Arslan's cause, and all these kinds of things. That's what it leaves me with by the end. I would very much be chomping at the bit to see where the story goes from here. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. If you've seen episode 25 of Arslan Senki, the finale, as I say, to what we can only assume will be season 1, and hopefully we'll get another season in the future, whether it was satisfying to you, whether it fell in line with the original concepts and the original story and everything like that, if it was something you expected, if they had any surprises thrown in there at the last minute that you didn't see coming, whether that made you, happy or disappointed, everything like that. Anything goes under the sun. I love having the conversation with you guys. So otherwise, yeah, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Bring on Arslan Season 2 whenever you want to. I'll be there, with bells on. And yeah, hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.